everything you didn't know about Steve Buscemi. Steve Buscemi is rarely in the headlines, but this week the world was saddened by the sudden passing of his wife Jo Andres. The pair have been together for over 31 years, and Andres was there before Steve had become a well-known Hollywood staple. Although the actor likes to keep his business private, his life has taken some interesting turns along the way that you might not be aware of. Join us as we take a look at everything you didn't know about Steve Buscemi. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more amazing videos about your favorite movies and TV shows. He was born on Friday 13th.
Woo! Hey, come on. Woo!
Steve might be an incredibly nice guy, but he does have that rare ability to look really creepy and intense while acting. It's only right then that the actor was born on Friday the 13th, aka the unluckiest day of the year. The star plays characters that frequently die on screen, and growing up, Buscemi didn't have that much luck either. Most of us managed to go through most of our lives without being hit by a bus or a car, but Steve was hit by both in two separate accidents. He received some compensation after being hit by one of the New York's transport vehicles though, which he put towards funding his education at the Lee Strasberg Institute of Acting, although he did have to work 3 jobs on the side too. Every cloud has a silver lining. It's just a shame that Buscemi had to get physically injured to kickstart his acting career. He was a firefighter.
We got the sound, we got the name, we got the scratching galaxies, empire double, we got full stop to him.
Before he turned to acting, Steve had loads of jobs that were very un-Hollywood. He was an ice cream truck driver, a house mover, and a gas station attendant, and enjoyed a brief stint selling newspapers in the toll lane of the Triborough Bridge in his teens. His father, concerned that his son seemed a little directionless, encouraged 18-year-old Buscemi to take the civil service exam when he was 18 and become a New York City firefighter. It seemed as though Steve had found his place, and 4 years later he was a fully fledged member of Engine Co. 55, located in Little Italy. Buscemi knew that he had a passion for acting that couldn't be extinguished though, and while he fought flames by day, he appeared on stage at improv clubs at night, as well as auditioning for acting roles in his spare time. When he landed a part in Bill Sherwood's Parting Glances in 1986, Steve initially took a leave of absence for 3 months and planned on returning to work for the fire department of New York. But the acting bug had bitten him, and he couldn't bring himself to return. He left the fire department for good after working with them for 4 years. Trees Lounge was autobiographical.
Connie, let me get 2 big glasses of beer and a little shot glass of beer here for Cleo. Crystal!
Most actors wait until they're really established to get behind the cameras and start writing and directing their own movies, but Steve didn't. He released Trees Lounge in 1996, and it soon became a classic hit among his fans. The story focuses on ambitionless layabout Tommy, who spends his free time boozing it up in a bar in the same town he grew up in. Buscemi would later say in an interview that the movie was based on his own life as a teenager. "I was truly directionless, living with my parents. I was driving an ice cream truck and working at a gas station. The drinking age was 18 then, so I spent every night hanging out with my friends in bars drinking." Doesn't that sound like every teenager, or was that just us? The B-Man often reflects on his life growing up in Long Island, and luckily for him, his story translated pretty well on screen. Trees Lounge maintains a high rating of 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, with famous critic Roger Ebert saying that this movie is the most accurate portrayal of the daily saloon drinker I have ever seen. It didn't rake in a lot of cash, but it did get him a few awards nominations. His Con Air character was written for him.
Bunch of idiots dancing on a plane to a song made famous by a band that died in a plane crash.
Con Air put some of the biggest actors of the 90s against each other, including John Malkovich, Nicolas Cage, and John Cusack. The Jerry Bruckheimer-produced action flick had its fair share of big bad men, but scrawny Steve played the most deadly of all, Garland Green, aka the Marietta Mangler. Buscemi nails the character of the serial killer, but that might be because it was specifically written with him in mind by his screenwriter buddy, Scott Rosenberg. Rosenberg wasn't sure if Steve would be on board for the project, so he was thrilled when he accepted the role. There really wasn't anyone else up to the job. The motion picture scored big at the box office, bringing in $224 million against a $75 million budget. While the premise of the movie got mixed reviews from the critics, they all praised the performances of the cast. It remains a cult classic among fans, and despite Steve Buscemi's mass-murdering character, people still loved him in it, and it helped boost him up the career ladder. He refuses to fix his teeth. Many Hollywood stars decide to get their teeth straightened out and whitened before they even make it to their first audition, but dental work is pricey. Some wait until they've got a few bucks in the bank before they opt to get the full veneers, but others don't. Johnny Depp hasn't touched his teeth despite years of staining thanks to his wild lifestyle, and when it comes to fixing his crooked smile, Steve isn't about to jump in the chair either. While many dentists have offered to help him out, Buscemi has purposely declined, knowing the impact it could have on his career. His unusual appearance has helped him land parts over the years, and if he fixed it, it could be the end. While guest starring on The Simpsons, the actor joked about the matter when a cartoon dentist offers to straighten his teeth out. "You're going to kill my livelihood if you do that," quips the character. He's not wrong. Look at what happened to Dirty Dancing's Jennifer Grey when she fixed her nose. Everyone put baby in the corner, and she didn't get another substantial part again. Buscemi or Buscemi?
Please welcome the great Steve Buscemi.
Most people pronounce Steve's last name as Buscemi, considering that he hails from his Italian roots, and it just looks like it's supposed to be said that way, doesn't it? There's only one problem. The man himself spends the majority of his life pronouncing his name Buscemi, as that's how his father said it. It was only when he took a trip to his native Sicily that he noticed Italians were saying it more like Buscemi. That's another way to say it. The actor told the story during an interview on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and honestly, we're more confused than ever. Buscemi, Buscemi, or Buscemi? How about we just call him that dude that was in Reservoir Dogs and be done with it? Italian names are beautiful, but we need to pick one and go with it, okay? He volunteered after 9/11.
I wouldn't say I helped with rescue efforts. I was down at the site, and I was just trying to help out there in any way that I could with my old company, Engine 55.
When the horrible events of 9/11 unfolded, Steve wasted no time in putting his skills and knowledge to good use. It had been almost 20 years since the actor had done any work for the fire department, but in the week following the collapse of the towers, he reunited with his Engine 55 unit and helped sort through the wreckage in hope of finding survivors. Buscemi worked for 12 hours at a time alongside his brothers in the fire department of New York, and he only had one stipulation. He didn't want it to be advertised. Some people asked to take his picture, but he declined. It wasn't until a decade later that a photo emerged on Facebook, posted from the Engine 55 crews. Brother Steve worked 12-hour shifts alongside other firefighters, digging and sifting through the rubble, read the post. This guy is a badass. To this day, Steve downplays his involvement in the cleanup, showing that he really is a stand-up guy. He narrates the tour at Eastern State Pen. If you ever decide to take a walking tour around the famous Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia, then you might be a little surprised to hear Steve's soothing voice coming through your earphones. It's an unusual project for the actor to work on, that's for sure. Eastern State has been a pretty popular location for films, photo shoots, and even album covers. Terry Gilliam's movie 12 Monkeys starring Brad Pitt and Bruce Willis was filmed there, and Tina Turner shot one of her album covers on site too. In its heyday, the prison was one of the most famous lockups in the world, and one of the most expensive, housing criminals like Slick Willie Sutton and Al Capone. Nowadays, it's a much-visited historical site, and one that Buscemi himself is quite fond of. In 2000, he took a trip there to look it over for a potential film project, and while he didn't use it for his movie, he did become enamored with the history and architecture of the almost 200-year-old prison. Officials found a friend in Steve and asked if he wouldn't mind jumping on board as a narrator. If that doesn't make you want to take a stroll through the crumbling cell blocks, then we don't know what will. He was in a comedy duo.
Somebody stole my wallet, and I'm trying to get home, and you know what? Thanks a lot.
When Steve was still trying to find his place in the showbiz world, he tried his hand at stand-up comedy in the early 80s, forming a duo with Mark Boone Jr. Boone was also an aspiring actor and would later become known for his role as Bobby in the hit series Sons of Anarchy. The pair worked on their part improv, part scripted skits that often set the thin Buscemi against Boone's much stockier frame. They even scored a review from the New York Times, who called their act theater in the absurdist vein. Thankfully, the two actors went their separate ways a few years later and both found success, albeit separately. All's well that ends well, right? Thank you very much for watching today's video. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more amazing content, and don't forget to check out one of the other two videos on your screen.